Richard's a funny name, right? Because the nicknames, like it's Rich, Rick, and Dick. And
Ricky.
And Ricky.
We got to introduce the podcast first, though.
How does that happen with the name Richard?
I'll bring it back up.
And when did Dick become
I will bring
a
it
bad
back
bird?
Up. Stop. I will bring it up. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Unstoppable Marketer podcast. With me, as always, is Mark Goldhart. Solo episode. Well, not solo. The two of us. No guest episode. And we were just in not a heated discussion, but
a duet.
Yeah.
Some might say.
The dynamic duo.
The dynamic duo.
That's right. Well, we were just talking about...
Are you wearing shorts today?
I am wearing shorts. Maybe this camera will see up them. Catch the YouTube if you want to find out.
How do you feel putting on shorts?
How do I feel when I put on shorts?
Did you feel a little self-conscious at the beginning of the year?
Oh, because like my legs might be a little ghostly?
Yeah.
Are you saying they're ghostly right now?
No. Abby's got some warm light in here, so you can't really...
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Abby Ray.
They don't look too white. But you know, like changing into summer clothes, there's some people go through some self-conscious thoughts. Do you?
I never do. I very rarely have a single self-conscious thought, except for when I see pictures or videos of me from behind and my head looks significantly more bald than it actually really is through imagery. And I don't know why. I just don't like it.
You don't like it?
Yeah. I don't mind it from the front, even though it's the same thing.
Right.
But from behind, it just looks worse because like it'll be really dark, you know, like underneath. And it almost looks like I should like, when I see it visually, I think I should just bick my head.
Okay. So you get a little offended that it looks like 0% hair instead of 20%?
Well, the problem is it looks like I'm compensating. Like it looks like I'm keeping this here.
Oh, it looks like the bottom is there, but the top.
Yeah. Whereas here, it just looks, it's very like I have I'm bald, but it's also very like light roots. So I can be one of those guys who doesn't have to bick it because of that, I think.
Okay.
And I like that look more. Like I don't ever want to bick one because some people look really creepy bicked. Some people look great, but some people look really creepy. I don't want to find out if I'm the creepy or the good looking one. And two, it's just a lot of work. Like shaving,
full shave? Yeah.
Shaving my face alone is like, that's treacherous, you know? Like it took me years to get a like really good system so that I'm not getting ingrown hairs, and I do not want to figure that out with my head.
Can't blame you.
The woes of having my mother's father who's bald.
Yeah, they do say you get your hair from your mother's father. My mother's father had hair till he died.
Peggy's husband. We haven't talked about Grandma Peggy
Grandpa.
in a minute. So we'll talk about Grandpa Lee. That's Grandpa Lee. Thanks for being bald, bucko.
Your dad's bald too.
My dad is bald.
So you kind of had it coming from both sides.
Yeah, but nobody else, none of his brothers are bald.
Oh, funny, just him.
Yeah. In fact, most of his brothers, if I remember right, have a relatively thick head of hair, and he's got, I think, 3 brothers. That's bad because they're my uncles.
You have 3 uncles?
I think there's one more in there. No, there's not.
No.
Yeah. He's got a sister as well. So.
And she's got her hair too. Good.
She has her hair. Her husband does not, but he's not related to me at all.
Speaking of hair, I have alopecia.
No, you don't.
I do. Look, it's just on the legs though. Right there. My dad's hair he's completely bald on his legs. That's
not alopecia.
It is, yeah. It goes up your legs. Like right here, my entire thigh is bald.
I've got like right here, it kind of balds. But I always just think it's because of like underwear and shorts rubbage.
No, like I have literally right here, nothing's rubbing right there. It's just bald. No. I'll show you later.
Off camera?
Off camera.
Thanks.
But yeah, it's called lower leg alopecia.
Interesting.
I get that from my dad, I guess. I didn't get that from my grandpa. Hair's fun.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a bald monkey? Creepy. Go look it up. It's just crazy how much hair transforms the way you look at something.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah.
Right? Like go look at a bald chimpanzee.
It's just disgusting.
It's not disgusting. It's just freaky.
Yeah.
Abby's looking up the bald chimpanzee right now.
She just gasped.
Look how muscly that guy is. You can see his giant forearms and triceps. He looks like
So everything's bald.
Yeah.
Okay, so skit like hairless.
It's a hairless chimpanzee, yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Little ball of muscle.
That's like a
They look way scarier.
bald cat too.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are freaky. Speaking of animals, I saw a mom and 2 baby owls last night.
2 baby owls.
Yeah. Getting ready to fly.
Ooh, they're getting ready.
Yeah.
Did they?
No. The neighbors who were talking to us about it, they said that it's like in the next 2 weeks. They say it's every year. They get owls every single year.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and they live up in the tree next to their house. And then as soon as the babies are able to fly and do their own thing, then the whole family will come and bathe in their little pond, like in their backyard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is cool. You never see owls here in Utah. Like very rarely do you see owls here in Utah.
Well,
I'm sure they're around quite a bit, but
I see owls all the time at the cabin, but like in the valley.
yeah. Up in the cabin is up in the mountains.
But in my neighborhood, there's also quite a few owls
Really?
because there's some really big old trees. Yeah.
We have tons of trees, and this is the first time since we've lived where we're at in 4 years that I've seen an owl.
Yeah, I love owls.
Owls are awesome. He was telling me a story. He said one of the owls last year, he says they have like a barn cat because they live kind of next to this like horse place that has just like a cat that just wanders and gets the mice for him. And he said that they were just out talking to his neighbors, and the dad owl swooped down and picked up the barn cat and got like 10 feet with it. And the cat just freaked out. And
it was trying to take the cat out. Nice.
Yeah.
Birds.
Crazy.
Birds are crazy.
We love, like my wife and I love birds of prey. Like we think they're the coolest things ever.
I think they're the coolest things. My wife is like thoroughly unimpressed.
I am thoroughly impressed.
Because she grew up on a farm and there's golden eagles out there at the farm and owls at the farm, hawks at the farm.
So she just
so every time I point out a golden eagle.
They were like pests to her?
No, not pests. They love them because they're eating
the gophers and
the rabbits and stuff. But it's just like, oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I saw those all the time. Little hottie toddy.
What are we talking about today?
First of all,
we're gonna get to stuff.
I mean, first of all, I want to figure out why the name Richard can have like 5 different nicknames.
That is a really good question.
It's like Rich and Rick.
Rich, Rick,
Dick.
Richard, Dick, Ricky.
And where did Dick come from? And when did it become a bad word? And like, it's kind of funny. Some of the old guys
don't
still
type
have
in Dick on
Google. Don't type that into Google.
Do not do that, please.
It's always funny too because you have the old dudes that their name was still Dick. It's like, hey, this is Dick.
Yeah.
And you're 12 years old and you're like,
yeah, you never meet another Dick.
There won't be another Dick ever. R.I.P. to the Dicks.
I also think that another name, I actually can't remember this, but I had a friend named Brock, but his first name was Dick. Or Richard, sorry. His first name was Richard, but I feel like he also as a kid told me that there's a tie to Brock and Richard or something like that. Because I don't know if it wasn't his middle name. It wasn't like Richard Brock.
His name was Richard and they called him Brock?
Yes. I could be wrong. Somebody will research that for us.
Yeah, please do.
This episode is brought to you today by Bestie. If you are an e-commerce store on Shopify, stop and listen up. Are you surveying your customers? Do you know how they get to your website? Do you know what marketing channel introduced them to you? Do you know what motivated them to buy? Do you know what your NPS score is if people actually like and love your products? If you don't know the answers to some of those questions or any other questions you might have for your customers, you need to start using post-purchase surveys. Bestie is the only post-purchase survey provider that utilizes AI to not only help you craft your questions, but also takes the insights that your customers give you and creates actionable insights and steps for you to make as a business to help grow and scale your company today. Bestie just lowered their prices so you can be surveying your customers for as low as $39 a month. And not only that, they have a 14-day free trial in the App Store. So go check them out right now. Test the 14-day free trial. If you happen to pay the $39 a month, you are not going to lose out on much, and you are only going to be able to gather more data around your customers to help grow and scale your businesses. We love Bestie and we use it for every single brand we work with. Go check them out today at bestie.ai.
Well, let's talk about...
Should we talk about things that people want to hear about?
Let's talk about first, niches or niches?
I think I say both, actually.
Yeah, look it up, Abby.
What do you say?
Niche.
I'm pretty positive that I say both of them.
But some people say niche.
Yeah.
Niche.
There
Nice.
it is. Thanks, Google. Thanks, Abby.
Yeah, I do think I say both, but I would have thought that it is niche as well with that E at the end. And doesn't it have a tilde?
Well, I think it's a French word, technically.
Yeah, so it's not a tilde. That's what it's called, right, in Spanish? The accent over it? It's a tilde.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. To be honest, I have no idea.
I know.
I just say there's an accent.
You speak Spanish, but I took a year of it in college, and I learned the names of things.
I have a minor in Spanish, actually.
Yeah, well, you should have learned tilde.
I don't remember what anything's called. I just know where they are.
Okay, so niches.
Niches.
Let's talk niches.
Let's do it.
So when Mark and I were discussing this morning, we said, hey, we don't have a guest. We need a topic. We kind of thought, let's talk about niches and let's give a little preface of why. Okay. At least from my perspective, why I thought it would be neat to talk about niche.
Ooh, a neat niche.
A neat niche. The reason why is because, as many of you may know, Mark and I have a marketing agency. We also have a e-commerce tech company, and we happen to interview a lot of founders in the e-commerce space. So we are constantly, like, whether it's collecting data through our software or working with clients or just jamming out with founders, we kind of have this like bird's eye view into businesses and their success. There are a lot of reasons that businesses are successful. One is they have got just an amazing product, problem solution, it solves it. Other reasons, they might not have an amazing product, but they have an unreal brand.
Yeah,
or
like
they have a really good content strategy, like an amazing messaging and content strategy. They're all, and sometimes it's multiple of these things as well. But then there's other people that just have like this niche, like they have just so niched in and they're so successful and they become essentially, I'm going to use a word that people will argue, but they kind of somewhat become bulletproof because their messaging is so honed in to a very specific group of people or people searching for a very specific type of product. When we see meta issues, right? Like, so there's meta outages and there's things that happen with meta all the time, especially recently.
And there's seasonality.
Yeah, and seasonality.
Yeah.
These niches very rarely experience those. Like, even though CPMs might be jacked up big time or like meta goes out, like it still works for the niche. Like, so that's what I mean by like somewhat bulletproof.
Yeah. Yeah. And so just to recap really quick, let's just talk about a brand with a really unique product would be something like Dyson, right? Their product is so good. That's how they sold themselves for a long time, was like product demonstrations.
Yep.
I'm not like, you can argue with me about what vacuum you use, but that's how Dyson got brought up, right? Mm-hmm. A brand with not a unique product, but a unique brand would be Liquid Death.
Yes.
Is an easy example.
Yeah. Water.
There's nothing unique about anything they do.
There's nothing unique about their product.
But their brand.
Everything unique about what they do from a branding perspective. Yes.
In that industry.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Proceed.
So then you have, a niche company that has either a niche product that serves an underserved group of people, or a niche brand that connects to an underserved or
community.
You could say ignored community.
Yes. So some examples, if we may. Let's start with maybe some examples of niche product. So niche product would be, we had her on the podcast, Sarah Ebert from Pressed Floral.
Pressed Floral, yes.
Yeah. Niche product, which is, hey, we customize and take your wedding bouquets. Doesn't have to just be wedding bouquets, if I recall. Sorry but you take your wedding bouquets.
It's kind of where it started, but yeah.
Yep, and I believe they flatten them and put it into a frame.
Yes.
And they turn it into
artwork.
A keepsake, artwork keepsake, that they can have that forever rather than throwing it away.
Yep.
And it's not a niche group of people because it's literally anyone who's getting married, right?
Yeah, the audience isn't niche.
Yes.
I mean, we could argue all day if
maybe
weddings
more sentimental
are niche
people
or not,
and yeah, for sure. The wedding industry is more niche than just every woman.
Right. But
Right.
every woman or man goes through sentimental moments, and
Yes.
flowers tend to be more on the woman's experience of those moments.
Yep.
And this is a way of preserving those moments throughout time. So what she did, though, is she created a product that solved a unique and niche problem that some people didn't realize was a problem, but it was a niche experience in that a lot of women were like, they didn't want to throw away their flowers. They just kind of felt bad, right?
Yep.
Like, oh, all these beautiful flowers, my wedding bouquet, which is so significant for women in that moment, is now just getting tossed.
Yep.
So how do you preserve it? She figured out how to serve and solve that really unique problem.
Yeah.
And in a beautiful way, right? It's unique. It's not just preserving
Yeah.
it. It's turning it into, it's a metamorphosis,
Nice. Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Transforming it into something that can be with them forever.
Yeah. So there's pretty much anything in the heirloom keepsake space works, right?
Yeah.
We work with somebody who does like breast milk jewelry.
Yes.
Very, very niche product.
Very niche because some people think it's weird and gross.
Yeah, and most people do. Like I would probably say more women do than don't.
I think that's changing, but you're probably right now.
Yeah.
If you just did like a general
Yeah.
poll of the public.
Abby, breast milk jewelry as a non-mom, where you would take your breast milk, freeze dry it, turn it into jewelry. She's got a weird face. She's not saying anything, but she's uncomfortable with it.
Okay.
But there are people who like, that is really.
If you end up having children, we'll revisit the question and see how you feel about it then.
But our wives who have had multiple kids, probably much more accepting to something like that.
Correct.
Right.
Yes. Well, it's a moment. Right? It's a period of time that's finite.
Yeah.
And it means a lot to some women.
Yes. Means a ton to some women to, it's a way, like
it signifies a lot of things to them.
Connection.
Yeah.
Health.
And so again,
quite possibly
niche.
the most connected you will ever be with your baby outside of your baby being inside of you.
Right. And so niche, because it could be polarizing because it seems weird, right? It's kind of like, those companies that do placenta capsules and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like most people are going to say that's weird.
But there is a group.
But there's group, and there always
that's
probably will
a niche product
be.
and a niche group.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Like the placenta stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please reach out to us if you did that.
I did.
You did the placenta stuff?
We did. Yes, with one of our three.
Yeah? Did you have any?
Of course not. Never. No.
Why not just take the placenta and just like grill it up?
That's the most disgusting thing. It was a really, really challenging process.
But you have to
and those pills just sat in my freezer.
Well, because it's a biohazard too, right?
It's like you have to it's a very interesting situation that you have to talk to the doctors about, and they have to remove it, and then the person comes to the hospital within minutes or hours, probably not minutes, but hours of the baby being delivered. But there is
supposedly,
I don't know if science. I don't know. My wife knows a lot about this stuff, but she didn't do it the next one. She didn't do it the first. She didn't do it the last, which makes me think she didn't. Think it worked, but one of the significance, one of the reasons women do this is because postpartum depression is such a huge thing that happens with.
Well, it's supposed to resupply you with nutrients, right?
Well, yeah, there's nutrients pieces of it, but it's also meant to be almost like an antidepressant. They say.
Supposedly,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we did not do that. I'm all about eating cow organs.
Okay, so we talked enough about niche products.
We've talked enough about organs. But.
Yeah. Let's talk. Yeah, we really went down the rabbit hole with women's babies.
So
Let's talk about niche communities.
niche communities is, for an example, there's a company out there called George Hats. Their product is not necessarily niche, it's children's clothing, but their audience are boy moms.
Which is an very underserved market.
Which if you talk to boy moms, it's a very it's a very underserved.
It's a big community that
community.
Unless you are a boy mom, you would never know existed, right? For the most part.
Yes, and what's interesting about that community
And
is...
what is a boy mom, really quickly? It's not a mom who has
It's just a mom who has a
boy, necessarily. It's a mom who only has boys.
Yes, but...
Not saying that you can't be a part of a boy mom community.
My wife would consider herself a boy mom, even though we have a girl now.
Yeah,
Because
but
there's two boys
recently...
and then the girl.
Yeah, but in 2 years, will she? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, she always will.
We'll see. I don't know if she will.
I'm quite positive she always will. But nonetheless, this is the reason why. It's because a lot of moms with boys feel as though the boy fashion or the boy community is often just kind of drowned out, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there's not cute clothes. There's nothing, there's nothing that you can put on them. Like you kind of just go quickly into Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's very cheesy.
Superhero or cheesy.
Yeah, it's very cheesy or also very just like blend in.
And then this is, again, don't get offended out there. We know that girls can have holes in their jeans too. But for example, my two boys, every pair of pants that have not come out of George Hats have holes in their knees.
Yeah.
Every single pair, they have holes now. It's like they have a pair of pants and 3 months later, there's holes in them.
Yeah, or probably sooner.
Yeah. So
underserved community, very specific community. Another brand.
And yes, their product is a little niche, I guess, because it has some unique value props to it. But
But
really,
it's more features, benefits, that are unique.
It's really the brand
which
and the
don't
founder
really sell.
that sell, because she's a boy mom, right? So she speaks to this.
The other brand, we had these guys on the podcast. So there's a company called Bruce Bolt, Chris Hall, who is the CMO. We had him on. So Bruce Bolt are batting gloves for baseball batting gloves. Okay. And baseball batting gloves are not unique. You like Franklin and Rawlings and you name Wilson,
There's not a scientific advancement that's improved batting gloves.
No,
that's not accessible to every company.
It's probably like a golf glove, right?
Yeah.
Like can help some people with blisters, but like also like I've now got to the point now where I golf all the time as somebody who helped launch and start a golf glove company, and I never wear a golf glove anymore. And it does not make me better or worse. I just like to feel more.
Yeah.
So anyways, Bruce Bolt, when we had him on, he said something very interesting is like, we don't serve my immediate thought was like Little League. Like, oh yeah, like little leaguers would love this. But he's like, no, we are not the like Little League. We're not just anyone in baseball. Like baseball is a small community already, but he's like, no, we are the travel baseball community.
What is baseball? The third or fourth? It's the third sport? Biggest
sport?
Or fourth?
It's up there. It's like cricket, NASCAR, soccer, baseball.
But in terms of participation, I think a lot of kids go through Little League, but man, I'm just thinking about, because the high school team's only so big, and a lot of people kind of phase out before even junior high.
But a lot of people play what's this travel ball community.
Yeah, then you have travel ball.
Is almost more important than high school.
And people don't play pickup baseball where we're from. They might in other places, but
no. That's Sandlot days.
Right? Yeah,
yeah, that's the 70s.
So like you phase out of this kind of Sandlot phase pretty quick, right? So you get kids coming in and out of like Little League.
Yeah, but the travel ball community,
and then you have travel ball,
is a very because you have to travel to states that like, if you think about it, the majority of the United States has a winter, right? There's really only a few places that don't have.
Well, technically everyone has a winter, but
you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Bad weather, very cold, snow,
yeah,
conditions that you cannot play baseball.
I think
Right?
that's the idea. Yeah.
So if you're in the Midwest, for example, or Utah,
you got to go south.
yeah, you're going south or you're going to East Coast or, Southeast, right? And it costs a lot of money. So the travel ball community is these parents are very willing to spend a lot of money. And so they sell these. Like I just bought my son $20 gloves because he plays Little League and loves it on Amazon. These go for $100, And these parents, because baseball is very superstitious and because people like, it's also, there's like a cool factor to baseball. You want to look cool. It's just a very underserved market. And so they said, let's have everybody in the travel ball community wear our gloves.
It's the prime drink of baseball gloves.
Yeah. So you got these products, you have niche products and you have niche audiences.
Yep.
And sometimes you get a little bit of both.
Now,
what was an
the
example
problem?
of both? We had an example of both.
Well, of a niche product and a niche audience? Placenta pills.
There was another one. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. Okay, you said, what's the problem?
But what's the problem with a niche business?
Your TAM.
Yeah.
Your total.
Generally speaking.
Sure.
Sometimes you can overcome that. But just to be fair and honest with everybody out there, right? Like your chances of growing a niche into something much, much bigger, you'll run into some really big struggles, right?
And you do have to define what much bigger is.
You
because
do.
Bruce Bolt is a very good example of a niche community, and
Yes.
they are a 9-figure brand.
Oh, is that official? Or do we have to cut that out?
I think he said that.
Oh, cool. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not pulling that from something, and I don't know who else would have told me that besides him.
Like I said, I don't know if that's just like I don't know if that's official.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. We were told that.
Okay. Well, that's a really big business, right?
Yep.
But you do get to a spot, a 9-figure or 8-figure?
I'm pretty sure 9-figure. Now I'm second guessing everything. It's been probably
most niches are going to cap out in the e-com space, right? Like you're going to run into problems getting beyond a certain point. What that point is, but let's just call it 10 mil a year. Like it's because you're running into a marketing problem. For example, let's talk about breast milk jewelry. It's simply how many people are you going to convince of that aren't already convinced?
Right. Or are already in the mindset, maybe never thought about it, but they are, oftentimes probably a more homeopathic, natural.
Generally speaking, that's probably what those people tend to be,
attributes, right?
Now you can do different product offerings in that business to probably offset that. So you're not so focused on maybe the breast milk, but I think the point being is you just have to be aware that these kinds of companies, and there's nothing wrong with being this type of company. In fact, it's great to be this kind of company because you can fly as low as you want. You can make a great living. You can make way more money than anyone could ever imagine.
Yep.
You doing something. And you don't go through the volatility that other brands go through. So you said like what's the negative? TAM. What are some of the positives? You're kind of getting into it. It's lifestyle. Like, yes, there's problems with every business, but the lifestyle of that kind of business is, hey, you don't deal with the same problems big companies are dealing with. Like, we've seen niche companies to this day in Meta are still getting cost per clicks that are like
Under
40
$1.
cents,
Yeah.
50 cents. They have ROAS numbers that people haven't seen since 2017. I mean,
exactly. So like what Mark's essentially articulating is like your cost to acquire a customer
is very, very
oftentimes is very cheap, or significantly cheaper. Like
Yes.
we own a jewelry brand, and it's insane the amount of money you have to spend to acquire a customer because when there's nothing different, right? It's a great product,
but
if it's
people don't buy unless the product is really, really unique. They're not buying product; they're buying brand. And there's a lot of brands. It's like supplements with Mountain Ops. people rotate through supplements all the time.
Yeah.
Like nobody's really loyal to a supplement.
That's a really good example of community. Like niche community.
That's a niche
hunting community, but supplements are a dime a dozen.
That's it. Yeah, we should have brought them up. Yeah. They are serving a niche community.
Yep. Yeah. And they're a really big company.
And they're big. Yeah.
So maybe there's something like,
because like what their whole thing is like, we're all about the outdoors and connecting to a higher power. And
yeah, so they have a TAM. They've got like 2 TAMs, right? So they have a TAM which is, and guys, for TAM, total addressable market, just FYI, like they have a TAM that is this, which is all outdoors, right?
Mm-hmm.
But who they talk to is the hunting community, and oftentimes that community can bridge out to climbers and mountain bikers, and
there could be overlap, but but then they have this slant to them where it's like, well, we're also about, like, we are a company that encourages people to connect with God.
Yeah, they are very religious.
And so they have
Christian.
They have kind of this religious, I don't think they said Christian in particular, but I'm sure that's probably what most of the hunting community would probably say they are.
Yeah, well, I mean, like they have Bible verses like all the time in their
marketing,
and stuff? Like on their Instagram and stuff
cool.
like that. Yeah, so
you're right, Christian, and then so that narrows that market even down more, right? Because I'm sure a lot of hunters identify with that, but maybe a lot don't.
Sure.
So outdoor niche,
religious.
Like you can see how they just like it goes. It gets smaller and smaller and smaller, but they've created a really successful business. So, and they're big.
Yeah.
So you can get big with a niche, but again, most of the time, if you have a niche idea, that doesn't mean you can't be an incredibly successful business. It's just like, what does success mean to you?
Yeah, it could mean that maybe your revenue is lower than what another brand could be, but your profits could be higher.
Your profits could be great.
Because you're not competing with everybody else. You're not talking to everyone. You're talking to a very, very specific individual human being.
Right.
And that tends to land better. So the other like benefits of niche is like your content strategy is very, like when you niche, like part of the reason why a lot of brands I think struggle with content creation is because they are so wrapped up in like, well, what do we talk about? Like they never quite understand what direction they can go. And then when they take a direction and they don't see that it's working, they change it. Whereas, when you are a niche brand, it is very, very clear who you're talking to and gives you a very, very like detailed outline of what your content and messaging strategy should be.
Yeah, it makes all of the things we talk about just a little easier almost.
Yeah.
Because, right, like we've talked with these people. So honoring motherhood, she knows she knows it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
She doesn't even try to lie to herself. She's not like, oh, this is this is for every woman out there. She's like, no, like this isn't. A lot of people think this is weird.
Yeah. Yeah, she'll admit it.
She knows it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
But she's been able to grow a very successful small business.
Yeah.
A woman-owned, woman-run business.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, because it's niche, there's no overreaching, right? Like it's not to say businesses aren't hard, but like it's smooth sailing when it comes to marketing in a different kind of way.
Yeah. So why are we talking about this, Kay? Like one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up was e-com is hard.
And it's harder than ever.
Yeah. It's also easier than ever.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like this like double thing. It's easier than ever in the sense that it is like, dude, when we launched Asher Golf in 2017, like working through manufacturers was
impossible.
Was so hard. And I was lucky enough to have, my business partner who had brought me on, like he had like some background in that. So he kind of knew where to start. But if he didn't, that would have been so hard. Like Alibaba didn't exist, or if it did, it wasn't trusted. I can't remember when Alibaba.
I mean, it existed.
It wasn't on the map.
It wasn't on
Or
the
on the
map for
radar.
regular
Yeah.
people.
So like that's number one. Like, you know, I saw this guy created a TikTok video and his TikTok video was like, hey, I found restoration hardware's
Oh yeah. Manufacturer
through Alibaba. And I just bought $30,000 worth of outdoor furniture for like $4,500.
Yeah.
And he like documented the whole process and he's like, this is legit. And this guy is a bougie dude. It's not like he settles. Like he would, I mean, the dude's building like a $7 million renovation right now.
Yeah.
You know, so he is a bougie character.
Crazy.
And so like it's very easy to find it. You can hop on Shopify for $1 a month for the first 3 months and start a Shopify store. So it's literally next to nothing, you know, like you've got an iPhone that can take very, very high quality imagery if you don't have it. Whereas before, like, but once again, go back to Asher Golf Days, we bought like these light boxes and we'd set all of our golf gloves up and we had bought this camera. I mean, and we were editing it versus like nowadays it's just be like, you know, you
or
could
just hire someone.
Yeah, you know,
on Fiverr.
So it's like, yeah, you've got things like Fiverr, you've got Canva. You know, if you don't understand Photoshop or anything like that, like you got Canva now.
Yeah, so all the operations has gotten easier, but the marketing has gotten harder.
Totally. So that's the flip side, right? It's harder because your competition is so much greater because of how easy it is to start a business.
So more people enter.
Yep. The second thing that not enough people talk about is 7 years ago, like there wasn't really this creator economy. Like influencer marketing, creators, it existed for sure, but they were more of a dime a dozen versus
but now you have
not
brands that are collaborating with creators, etc.
Yeah, now they're a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
Everyone's a creator. I'm a content creator, you know? And so not only do you have brands like Nike and other businesses that are taking like, you know, paying and vying for people's attention, you just have amazing content creators who are going to outbeat CPMs all day long because if TikTok is only pushing ads or Instagram is only pushing ads to people and not pushing creative, which is why we go on Instagram and why we go on TikTok, then they're going to go under.
For sure.
Right? So you're up against all these brands. You're up against really good product marketing. You're up against content creators. And so it's hard and it's more and more expensive. Like it's super, super expensive. So if you are in... I'm taking a long time to explain why I wanted at least to talk about niches, but I'm getting to it right here. If you are struggling as a business and you're hitting a wall or you are having a hard time growing or you haven't even started and you don't have a team or enough money or whatever, niching is a very, very great option for you to look at, right? Look at a niche community. Look at a niche product and how you solve a problem, and it will be significantly easier for you to jumpstart. Like Mark said, you may have a harder time becoming a $100 million brand, but getting up to that 2, 5, 10 million might be significantly easier.
Yeah, and I think maybe the paradox of marketing is a human fear is being different than other people.
Totally.
But in marketing, you have to be different.
Yeah.
And by being different, ironically, will attract more people to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the mental jump that most brands have a hard time making.
Yeah.
And niching is just an easier way to get there.
Yeah.
Because you don't really have an option. It's just, this is what you do. And this,
Yeah, for sure.
Or this is who you're talking to.
Yeah.
But I think every business can learn from a niche business. And that is just be different.
I like what you said, how people are scared to be different. It's like a lot of brands nowadays are kids who are in junior high and high school, which are my purpose in life in junior high and high school is to fit in.
Yeah.
Right. But you hear people all the time say, like, the moment you get out of high school, you really embrace your differences and people like love you for it because you're real, you're authentic, you're, somebody people can trust.
But even what's harder about a brand though is like you have to focus in on one of those like peculiarities.
Yeah, for sure.
And as you zoom in, it's uncomfortable to project something peculiar.
Yeah.
But then you'll find that a lot of people actually go, "Oh, that's
holy cow. I relate to that." Or
I relate to that.
I love that. That's so funny, or that's so cool. Yeah.
And a good example to get people over that mental leap is think about all these trends on social media where someone will say something like, here's a good one. There's this comedian guy who does these skits of himself. He says like me when I was 13, mad at my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in his room.
Uh-huh.
It's like this compilation of him like freaking out in his room, like flipping off like out the door.
Yeah. She
like,
shuts the door.
Like just switches to him to being like Wolverine. And
Yeah.
And how many people go, "Oh my gosh, I did that too."
Yeah. But
like
you would have never told people that you'd freak out like that.
Yeah, nobody talks about it, but he goes viral. We'll find him and shout him out, but it's funny because he's just finding this really awkward thing about his past that he's bringing up, but all of a sudden it just relates to everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
And zooming in on that, most people don't want to zoom in on it.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's you in probably by the time you listen to this episode, it's a couple episodes back, but we had another solo episode. Sorry, what did you call this?
We could call it a duet.
A duet, yeah, a duet episode. But where you talked about the transatlantic accent.
Yeah.
And you relayed that to people's brand guidelines today. And if you look at everyone's brand guidelines, there's not a lot of color. If it is, it's pastel.
It's all minimal. It's all
very minimal.
Neutral.
It's
pastels.
It's thin writing. It's sans serif. It's like they're not logos. They're names.
Words. Yeah, they're
you know
words.
what I mean? It's like Stance. Stance had like a logo, right? You can think of what the Stance logo is, and yes, they do put it on their sock.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, they do.
But if you go to their website, it's Stance on the website.
Yeah.
They probably have the icon, somewhere in the footer or whatever, but it's Stance. Everybody moved to that, and that was like around that was probably around 2016, 2017.
Yep.
Because we were trying to model Asher after Stance. Colored socks.
But now everyone does it.
But now everyone does it. And I loved how you said like, when Abby edited these videos, she put like all these really cool like 90s logos.
Yeah.
Right? You had MTV's logo. You had
like
all
how
these.
great was MTV's logo?
So sick,
And they got rid of all the color.
Yeah. So there's some food for thought. Difference is good.
And you're seeing that go back. I think people crave for a little different.
Yeah.
And think about the most classic brands of all time have not changed their logos, but their logos are very unique and have been. So Nike.
Yeah.
Right. And they're even going back to that like lowercase semi-cursive look.
Mm-hmm.
But you have Nike, you have Coca-Cola. Right, Pepsi's gone through a lot of variations, but they're going back to their original.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just something about classic looks that stand out.
Yeah, for sure. Niche.
So niche it.
I like it.
All right.
I don't really have much more to say about niches.
Me neither.
Great opportunity to niche. Fantastic opportunity.
All right, well, let's wrap it.
All right, that's a wrap. All right, guys, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Unstoppable Marketer podcast. Please go rate and subscribe the podcast, whether it's good or bad. We want to hear from you because we always want to make this podcast better. If you want to get in touch with me or give me any direct feedback, please go follow me and get in touch with me. I am at the Trevor Crump on both Instagram and TikTok. Thank you, and we will see you next week.